documenting the front lines of the AI revolution, the AI Rebels podcast.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the AI Rebels podcast. We are very excited to have David Nussbaum, the CEO of Proto, here with us today. Some very exciting things going on with you in this company. Thanks for coming on, David.
Oh my gosh, this is amazing. Thanks. I like talking about the technology, and so this is going to be a lot of fun for me.
Awesome. Excited to have you here.
Well, thanks.
Quickly, could you just give us a little bit of your background story? Where you got your start, how you got into AI, how you got into your current venture, Proto?
Oh, yeah. It really started when I was a kid. If you've ever asked, I've got 3 kids under 10, and I always ask them, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? When I was a kid, I wanted to be a radio broadcaster. I wanted to run radio stations. I wanted to be a broadcaster. I always knew that my life was going to be in the communication field, one way or the other. I just absolutely loved it. I mean, I know Jacob's from the East Coast. I was born in New Jersey, and I was a big Mets fan growing up. Baseball fan. Sorry, Jacob. I know you were probably Red Sox, right?
We'll let that slide.
But I remember, like, this is like I was like maybe 6 or 7 years old, and my buddies and we would watch the Mets games, and we would turn the volume down, and we would end up just calling the play-by-play. Didn't realize that was going to be like, that's a job. That's a real job. So anyway, love communications, love broadcasting, just love the medium of communications. And so I spent my entire career in that field. What do you want? Hey, little David, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be a broadcaster. And so that's what Proto is. Proto is the evolution of broadcasting. I worked for 25 something years for CBS and for a bunch of different independent radio stations. And through the years, I worked at different levels of communication, from on air to sales and marketing and general management. And so I took my love of broadcasting and I evolved it to a place where you're not talking into a radio microphone and hearing your voice come out of a speaker, or you're not looking in a TV camera and seeing your face on a screen. You're broadcasting you, like you're beaming you from wherever you are to wherever you need to be. And in 2011, I took a break from broadcasting, and I stumbled upon some very rarely used patents that were later used to put Tupac on stage at Coachella. And so I ran the company that was known for bringing back all these dead musicians and as holograms. So long story short, after my several years of bringing back the late legends to posthumously perform, I took the idea of that and my love of broadcasting, I smashed them together. So pretty much, instead of bringing back the dead, I use holograms to connect the living, and here we are talking about it.
I love it.
That's awesome.
So Tupac lives on. That's great.
Hey, if there's anybody who lives on, it's Tupac. But yeah, I get that all the time. Every morning I wake up and I see my emails, or I look at my DMs on LinkedIn or whatever. My grandfather passed away, or I'm a huge fan of this artist. Can you bring them back? And I'd really love my dad to walk me down the aisle, but at my wedding. Wow. But so I get a lot of those, and they're emotional, and some we can do, some we can't do. Some are unethical to do. Some are right in my wheelhouse. But that's where AI really comes in, and you have to balance what is real with what is doable and ethical. Yeah,
I'd be really interested to hear what are kind of some of the ethical lines that you guys run into that you won't cross.
Well, I'm not going to bring somebody back without either their prior acknowledgement and approval, or somebody within the estate who runs so like if you're talking about bringing back grandma, that's different than bringing back Michael Jackson. And so always my guidelines start with, is this something that they wanted, and can you prove it? Or is this something that the person who runs the estate, if it's somebody that is like an entertainer, someone with a celebrity legacy, is this something that they want, and can they prove that? So once that hurdle is accomplished, then then we can start to having that conversation. I'd say that's the most important thing. And then with AI of the living, it is, I need to know for sure that there are these guardrails in place, because I don't want anybody saying anything ever that is against what their core principles are as they are in real life.
Yeah.
And then also I don't want to take jobs away from people just to replace them with an AI version of themselves or something else. So I want to make sure that our technology is being used to enhance people's lives, not to replace things in their lives. Yeah.
Interesting. I love that. Maybe you mentioned the technology. Can we learn a little bit about the tech? Like what does it do? Maybe a little bit of how does it work? How does it incorporate AI? What are the different parts moving?
Sure. I'm like, when I started this is our tech right behind me. This is my hologram, you know.
Your
Look at
clone.
this guy. Look at this guy. So my clone. So the technology, this is the Proto Epic. It stands 7 feet tall. So it is, wow, it's so big. Does it have to be such a big box? It does, because that is how you could get somebody who's 6'1" to appear 6'1". Otherwise, if it was a small display, or if the hardware was smaller, it would not look like you. It would be it wouldn't be a complete version of you. So this technology, this hardware is in place to allow for a person to physically appear like they're absolutely there, like it's completely realistic, and like their presence is authentically there, which is ultimately what I set out to accomplish when I was 7 years old, calling the play-by-play for the New York Mets. All I want to do is just make it sound or look like the person is actually doing it or there, in a world where they can't physically be there. By the way, this technology allows anybody to beam into any place live into unlimited locations at the exact same time. And the person, this series of cameras and sensors allows me to see the person or groups of people or rooms full of audiences that I'm being beamed into live. So it is a true, holoportation, interactive communication display. And that was amazing. Started before we really even dove into the AI of it all. So this was a live communication display when I first started. And so now, beaming anybody anywhere.
I just love that you're using beaming in a sentence like that, beaming someone.
Well, it is true. I started off this conversation by telling you that I watched a lot of TV when I was a 7-year-old, and that continues throughout my entire life. So not just watching sports on television, but watching science fiction and reading comic books and watching movies about future. And so I've gotten a lot of my ideas from other people who wrote about them and produced movies about them. I mean, I'm the first person to admit I take my ideas from Star Trek and from Back to the Future and from the Jetsons, because they've been promising beaming. They've been promising holoportation. Now, is this really holoportation? No. Am I really beaming anybody anywhere? No. It's a video stream that of a digital asset, but that's kind of boring.
Yeah.
So I like saying that people I beam their holograms, please.
Well, it's as close as we can get right now. That's
great. Yeah. Well, I get a call about a year ago from William Shatner, Captain Kirk himself, and he says, and I'm not going to do his voice. I did this once in a podcast, and it turns out I'm not a good Bill Shatner impressionist. But he said, I made beaming people places famous. How dare you beam anybody anywhere unless it's me? So we get together, and he says, I have a lecture that I'm supposed to give in Australia, in Sydney, Australia, in 3 weeks. And I'm 93 years old, and I'm here in Los Angeles. Can we do it? And so we did it. We beamed 9,000 miles away. We beamed the guy who made beaming people places famous, William Shatner, beamed him to the stage at this advertising and marketing conference where he was set to give a keynote speech and take audience questions. And he beamed in, he beamed out. He was home in time for breakfast, And he said to me afterwards, this isn't a hologram company. You're a time machine company. You just saved me 5 days of travel, of getting on an airplane and flying to, and for a 93-year-old, 5 days is a lot of
That's
time.
huge. Yeah.
So we've now done that several times. And just last week, we sent Shatner to Orlando, Florida to speak on stage at another conference, at the VARTech 2024 conference. So it's really great. Beaming people places. Yeah. It's a thing. Yeah.
That's super interesting. I liked a lot more than just standard video chat, because you get a sense for the speaker's mannerisms and their body language, which adds a ton to something like a keynote presentation. Where if it was just a video of a talking head, like that's not engaging, that's not exciting.
It's really the difference.
Technology.
Yeah, thank you for. It's the difference between communicating and connecting with somebody. Yeah. And the reason for the body language and the nonverbal cues is so, honestly, it's so important when it comes to teachers beaming into schools, or doctors beaming in front of patients, or beaming patients in front of doctors. You need all of that. Or beaming witnesses to give remote testimony in courtrooms. So seeing the whole person as they stand with their shadows and their reflections and make it look like they're really there. That's the game changer. That's why I think people are really gravitating towards this.
Yeah.
As I do the robot behind me. But
killing it.
Yeah.
I'm curious, David, you mentioned it's like all of this was before you even introduced, these big AI technologies into what you do. What's that story? How did you make that transition?
Well, it was a natural transition, just like the 3 or 4 things that led to me doing this. I surround myself with really. I'm surrounded by the smartest people in the world. By the way, our Proto employees and my colleagues and partners all could be working at NASA and Raytheon and Amazon. They work here, and they're all given a very big voice. It's a collaboration. Although I'm the founder and CEO, it is a team sport here. And so a lot of times, like, we have folks who, like Edward Guinness, our CTO, or Rafi Krishek, our chief AI officer, they say, this is the trend. This is where things are trending. These are where things are going. This is our roadmap. It's, and this is where we'd like things to go. And I'm like, well, yeah, let's go in that direction, because, just having a holographic box isn't going to be the game changer. Of course, that's the thing that got everybody excited about it, but what does it do? And so now they say, these are all the things that we'd like it to do and that we know how to make it do. We've, instead of creating our own AI tools, what we have done is allow for open, we're AI agnostic. So whatever the LLM model is, or whatever the AI tool set is, it can integrate seamlessly into our open APIs. And so now, whether we're the visual personification of ChatGPT, or whether we're some other AI tool set, Proto can now bring your tools to life. And so that's where we went with this. And it's so great. Like, Matt Wood over at Amazon believes, and Amazon Web Services, they believe that this is the incredible visual representation of their AI tools. Let's see here. I'm going to put Matt Wood on while I'm talking about AI for a second. Here we go. So now, you could walk into Amazon Web Services in New York, or we're set to do reInvent with them in December. Not just beaming people places, but scanning a person and then allowing for that AI of that person to take over when that person can't physically be there, or expand upon this person's abilities. Matt Wood, or me, or anybody, I could do this with Spencer, I could do this with you. I scan you, and then I can make it look like you're in there, but then you could speak in Japanese. You could speak in French. And those are the AI tools that currently exist, but not as a human, realistic, volumetric projection of you. And now that does exist.
Super interesting. I'd be curious, what does the scanning process look like for getting someone into, Proto?
Well, years ago, you needed a whole room full of cameras and sensors and stuff. Nope, it's your iPhone. So we have an app. We've developed an app for the iPhone. It's called Proto Studio, and it's on the Apple Store. Any 4K camera, including your iPhone, in a locked off position, and then we have some rules, like it has to be a certain height off the ground and certain distance. But then you talk to it. You talk into your camera for 3 minutes. It captures and move your arms and speak the way you speak. Talk about anything. You could talk about anything you want, and it captures your cadence and your voice and your tone and how you act and how you move your hands when you're talking about a certain thing. At the end of that, you upload it to the software platform that is within our overall platform and operating system, and that's it. Then it learns it, and within minutes you can start either texting your content. And what do I mean by that? So we call it text to persona. These are AI personas. And so you can say, hi, I'm Spencer, and hi, I'm Jacob, and blah, 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 all these things about my podcast. And then you hit the go button, and within minutes, your AI is saying everything you just typed into it. So you're puppeteering your own AI. And this is really important when you have to give that lecture, or maybe when you're in a retail location and you want to talk about the latest things that are on sale in aisle 3, but you don't have time to keep recording something every single day. So this offers you the ability to expand beyond it's almost giving you supernatural powers, It's pretty great. And then there's the conversational aspect to it, which is just mind-blowing. People lose their minds when they walk in here. And then you could talk to, hologram Howie Mandel or any number of the AI avatars we have. It's just mind-blowing.
I've been surprised at how natural the advanced voice mode on GPT-4o sounds. And I can only imagine that attached to something like Proto, like it would be a little bit spooky almost. Talking to it. It's crazy where this technology is getting to.
Well, it only seems spooky because it's rare to see that right now. But give us 3 or 4 years. Remember, I thought the internet was scary, and then it's just when something really big happens, and it's scary for the first little while because you don't quite understand how it works, and then you learn. It's just a learning phase that we're all in right now. But this is going to revolutionize the way we do business. Not just do business, but educate our children and collaborate with our partners, and even communicate with patients or with doctors. I think that's really the most important thing, is making a person appear like they're there, whether they're live or whether it's their AI, just to make for a seamless future.
So is the current plan, you mentioned it's 7 feet tall, the Proto behind you. Are there different models? Is this the main model right now? Because I can imagine, getting these into places could be difficult just with that size.
Yeah, we have a 2 foot tall version. We have a little version. Turn my camera for a second. We've got a little guy, and this I've got me in. It's hard to see from here, but it's 1/5 scale. This is how we go from boardrooms into living rooms. They're ready to go right now. We're in schools. We're on tabletops, on shelves in big box stores, in museums and galleries. But yeah, it's a mini me, like a Wonka vision.
So that's exactly what I was thinking of.
Yeah. Honey, I Shrunk the hologram, and it squeezes you into a 1/5 scale. So maybe you're. If you're 6 feet tall, maybe you appear 15 inches tall or something like that.
Got it. Awesome. Okay. So what's the plan with these AI personas? Are you going to be focusing, is the plan more so the communication aspect, or are you going to be running more with these AI personas going forward?
Yeah, we're, as a technology company, we're not choosing how our partners are using it. We show off the technology, the capabilities of it. We have we've got several folks who have written books, and so they've scanned their personas, and then when they've dropped the entire text of their book into it, and now their AIs can now go out and just start going on a holographic book tour and reading chapters, and not just reading chapters, but then anybody can ask any question about what's happening in that book, and then the AI will respond to that question about what they were thinking when they were writing it. I mean, so it's really, really amazing. It is being used in airports as a wayfinder and as a directory and information booth. By the way, international airports sometimes see 600 or 700 languages every year as people are coming in and out of every single country. So imagine landing at JFK Airport, where we have a couple of units right now, and saying something to it in Italian, and it speaks back to you in Italian. And it tells you about maybe not just where baggage claim is, but maybe the fun things to do in New York while you're here. So it's entertaining, it's educational, it's informational. But for me, I see this in retail, I see this in healthcare, and I see this in education. I think those are the biggest, and corporate communication. I think those are the biggest 3 or 4 buckets of how our technology is either currently being used or where I think it's going.
I'd be curious, have you guys explored any customer facing, like customer support type applications for something like this?
Oh, sure. So we use humans as our customer support. However, we have sold our technology, our AI tools, and our live beaming technology through our operating system and displays to a lot of Fortune 500 companies and other companies across enterprise and retail and commercial use cases for tech support, customer support, and a lot of other different, just a variety of different ways. But yeah, it's an incredible customer support tool. We have several customers using it right now, in not the way that they intended to use it when they bought it. Like they bought it because, okay, we're going to bring these to all of our trade shows and we're going to load this thing up with all of our products so we don't have to schlep a whole truck full of heavy equipment and products. Like we could just have them floating around inside there. And, but then during off hours, like, oh, wait a second, I didn't know it did this, and it does this, and it does this. And now instead of renting one over and over again for trade shows, they're buying dozens of them to use across different use cases in different parts of their categories in their company. It's amazing. It's sort of like how I use my iPhone. Like I bought the iPhone to make phone calls. That was like my main thing. I was like, okay, what a cool phone. I'm going to make phone calls with this thing. And then it's like, oh, wait, I can text. I can listen to my music. I can go on the internet with this thing. I can check my stock portfolio. Last thing I do is make phone calls with it now. So you might get it for one reason and then figure out 100 different ways to use it.
Right.
Right. That actually answered my follow-up question too. But one more follow-up actually that I just thought of. So you said that with you're able to beam it live. What does the recording process look like for when you're beaming it live? Is that still just the iPhone, or does that require a more dedicated setup?
Same process. We wanted to make it ubiquitous. Like, how can you scan for AI? How can you pre-record content? And how can you beam live? All using the exact same production process. So any 4K camera, you could even use your iPhone in a locked off shot. And, you'll use some lighting, just like I've got a ring light here. You could see it in my, so like you would still use the same process. It's a bit of a zoom on your side. But it's like a fancy zoom, so like instead of sitting in front of a computer with a ring light, maybe you've got a little bit of a nicer setup. But ultimately at the end of the day, it doesn't require anything more than the production equipment that you all currently already have or access to. And because of our app, we have a live beaming app on the Proto operating system that you upload your content and you distribute it through our CMS, our content management system, to all of your displays that you want, or you could beam live. I could literally hold my iPhone up and I could choose which person I want to beam, and I capture you, I could remove the background, so you could be in the middle of anywhere, and you can remove the background, and then you choose any number of our displays you want to beam that person to, and then it offers you a return feed. Do you want a return feed so you can see who you're looking at and interacting with? Yes. And it sends it back to you in the form of a URL. So you could just drop that into any tablet or computer as your return feed. So awesome. It's multi-directional. And some of the celebrities that we've done this to, they take that URL, they post it on their social media so that their fans can see what they're seeing, which is really wild. Nobody's ever been able to do that before. You're actually seeing the audiences from the point of view of the celebrity. It's like getting into their head. It's really, really amazing.
Yeah, that's cool.
And I admire that dedication towards making it as frictionless as possible, because you're talking about all this hardware, and so that got me wondering. I was like, what's the hardware look like on the recording side? And that's amazing that it's just an iPhone for everything.
Yeah. That's wild.
I use just like a regular off-the-shelf Sony 4K camera, but people use their iPhones. They put it on a tripod, and then they hit the beam me up Scotty button, and away they go.
Love it.
That's awesome.
David, I mean, Proto obviously has just really started to take off here. We've talked to so many various founders at such different stages, whether that's in full production, they're doing well, or they have this idea they're working on and trying to get legs on it. I'm curious what advice, or just from this experience, what advice would you give to these people trying to develop these novel technologies and build a company? I'm just kind of a broad question, but what comes to mind that you would want?
Sure. I've got a few different, depends on who I'm talking to, but I'd say generally surround yourself with really great partners who have done this before. I've never done this before. So I went through a couple of rounds of really bad partners that really just wasted my time. But I found great partners, and I thought it was interesting to. Is that a hologram behind you, or was that a cat? I didn't.
No, this is a real cat. He's kind of our mascot. He likes to climb up on the counter when I can't stop him.
I love that. So back to what I said. Surround yourself with really great partners. Unless you have done this before and you have a track record of doing this, you must surround yourself with great partners who have done this before for a couple of different reasons. They know what you don't. They've done this before. And if you have to raise money, very few people are going to invest in a nobody, first time guy who is trying something out for the first time. So, however, if your partners have a track record of scaling businesses and generating revenue and making money and doing things like that, you will likely get large investments if you do it right. The other thing I would say is be open to pivot. You'll have a business plan, and you'll write down your business plan, and this is my business plan, and this is how I'm going to do things in this order. Guess what? It's not going to happen like that. Things happen, and you have to know that that is not a written in stone document. You can pivot from that. And at Proto, we've pivoted several times. We were called Portal when we started. So we were thrown through, that was hard to do too. Try scaling a business that nobody's ever heard of before, that nobody's ever thought of before. And 2 years into your scaling and evolution, try changing your name. That was hard, because now you have to rebrand. You have to start all over again. So nobody saw the pandemic coming. It's like, wow, how do we keep doing this type of business, in a different world? And post-pandemic, people aren't back to their offices yet, so there's a lot of things. You can't be stuck on a single focus. Surround yourself with great partners, raise lots of money, and be open to pivot. And 100 other things, I could tell you.
What's been kind of your favorite Proto story? Has there, beyond William Shatner, has there been like a celebrity or public official that has kind of stood out to you as someone who's really fun to work with or interesting?
Oh yeah. Howie. So this was a fun one. I was minding my own business. We were doing just fine. Our office was in Echo Park, Silver Lake area in Los Angeles, if you're aware of that area. And at the end of a long day in February of 2022, Howie Mandel started just commenting on all of my posts on Instagram. Like, I looked at my Instagram at the end of the day. It was like 5:30. I'm looking and I go, why has Howie Mandel commented on like 100 things? So one of the comments said, check your DMs. And he left his number and said, this is the future. Call me. And so I called him. We met up that day and here in this space. And it was just a wide open warehouse. It was an empty production building across the street from the Van Nuys Airport. And he said, use me. Like, I don't want a penny from you. I just think this is great. For him, it was a medical this wasn't solving an entertainment issue. This was solving a healthcare issue because he has, OCD and he's a germaphobe. And so this to him allows him to be in places that he couldn't physically be in, because of different. I'm talking about you on a podcast. As I'm talking about you, you walk in and you do? Okay. This is great. So you never, so Howie's the best. Okay. And so, yeah, I'd say that was one of my more fun, celebrity moments because, I thought of him as like, oh, he's going to want to beam onto every stage. He's going to want to do holographic concerts. And he has done that, but he feels safer and more comfortable in public, as a hologram than as a human. And it looks like him and it feels like him and he can see the audience. So it doesn't take away much, of the experience from the audience member or whoever's there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like, I mean, I'm just looking at it through a camera feed, but the holograms that you've pulled up in the background have all looked really lifelike, really impressive.
Here, I'll get a little closer to it. So, look, so the shadows are real. Like the reflections on the floor, it's like he's inside this room with me. I mean, he is actually inside this room with me, but it's like he's there, and it's absolutely wild stuff. And then like for things too, I was talking about things like you could put products, you could put products in there, right? So and then you could even like, does it have to come in a box? No, it could be built. This is Paris Hilton. She is also an investor and partner and friend. And this is just a window into another world. So stuff like this, and she's leaving now. And goodbye. So this, I built this to show how our technology can be used in in retail. Imagine replacing all of the bad for the environment plastic mannequins with holographic fashion shows. And so H&M and Burberry and Cartier and a number of retailers around the world have said, yeah, what if we just created holographic windows? And so we're doing that now.
That's awesome.
Really
that
cool.
brought up another question for me. Have you guys used this? Have there been any uses of this specifically in entertainment? So like, throw in another person to a movie scene or something like that with a hologram.
Oh, not into a movie scene, but to promote their movie, like to beam them into a bunch of different movie theaters, in the lobbies to communicate with audiences. We've beamed musicians onto stages. We did this with Kane Brown. We did this with Walker Hayes. Jewel, recently we beamed a performance of hers into a museum in Bentonville, Arkansas. So Jewel created this holographic art exhibition with us, and Bentonville is the home place of Walmart. And in fact, Crystal Bridges was founded by Alice Walton of the Walmart fame. So we beamed her. So it's being used all the time. We just using AI. We did hologram Dana White, the CEO of the UFC. Beamed his AI into the Sphere event that they just had a couple weekends ago. Yeah. And he was able to speak Spanish to all the all of the Spanish-speaking UFC fans. He doesn't speak Spanish, but it was the perfect Spanish, and the AI moves the mouth so it looks like you're saying it, and he appeared like he's physically there. Here, I'll just put I'll put Dana White on, but yes, it is being used all the time. Here's hologram Dana White behind me. Yeah. So, and then that was built into like a large setup at the Sphere. It was one of the most incredible. I've never been to the Sphere before. That place is wild. That was wild stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, entertainment all the time. Mr. Beast. We just beamed Mr. Beast from 1,000 feet inside of Earth in a subterranean cave in New Zealand. We beamed him up and out to the top of a bridge in the middle of the wilderness of North Carolina, and to check in on another video that they were filming at the exact same time. Because I say, if you can't be there, beam there. And so he did. He says, okay, I'm going to take you up on that. And so we beamed him like 8,500 miles away, and it's already dropped. It's got like 120 million views on we're on Big Brother on CBS right now. That show is using AI. In fact, we scanned all the house guests. If you're not a fan of Big Brother, it's a show where a bunch of contestants all live in a house and they all vote each other out one by one, and then the winner wins a bunch of money. But we've scanned all of the house guests, and so now they're sort of puppeteering each other and messing with the house, and it's on CBS. Okay. It's a really fun show. And so that's great. And then we have a lot of other really great things coming up.
Love it. David, do you remember and it's okay if you don't have a specific experience, but do you remember when you first used, like ChatGPT or whatever it was, the modern AI, and what that was like for you?
Yeah. So my favorite experience with ChatGPT is I've got 9 and 10-year-old daughters, Frances and Lucille, and the three of us, I would read them books every night. I'd say, go to your bookshelf, pick out a book, and then they'd hand me the book. And this is like when they were 7 and 8 years old. We don't do that anymore. Now I ask them, we create the book together. And so they'll say, I want a story about 2 daughters and their father, and they're in a magical forest. And so, and then, they'll choose the audio, like the voice. And so then a book that they had influence over writing is then read to them by ChatGPT 4.0. And it's amazing. It brings us together. They feel confident. They feel creative. It's not them just listening. They were involved in their bedtime ritual, and it's fun for me because now I don't have to read a book like in the dark. I'm getting old. I'm like shining flashlights down at a book. I absolutely love it. ChatGPT is an amazing tool, and again, it hasn't replaced anybody in my life. What it has done is it has enhanced my abilities as a dad, as even as a boss. Like sometimes there's a conflict happening in the office, and I think I've got it, and I'll say, hey, these are the steps I'd like to take. What do you think of that? And it'll help me. Well, I don't think that maybe whatever, whatever the thing is. So I think it's great. I'm a huge fan, and I use it across a lot of different categories in my life. But I mostly love it for the family stuff.
That's interesting. I haven't heard that before. That use case.
No, me neither. Yeah. That's a really fun one.
I mean, it's so great because it connects me with my kids in a way that we've never had that connection before. It's not just like a dad and his daughters, and one's reading and one's listening. We're all doing it together, and it's so quick. You don't have to sit around a table and paint a bunch of stuff, and like that. We do that stuff too, but that requires a lot of additional stuff. This just requires your phone, and I'm just absolutely in love with it.
Yeah, I found it ironic that so many people are worried about AI stealing our creativity. Because for me, I'd use it very similar to how you use it, where I'll kind of spew a bunch of ideas in there and then see what it gives me back, or just
Yeah.
use it for like I like to write poetry. I don't publish it a lot, but I like to write it. It's fun to do. But sometimes, like there's a line that I write and I'm like, that doesn't sound quite right. And ChatGPT is incredible at giving me alternatives. And even if I don't use their alternatives, like it sparks new ideas in my own mind. It's a really cool concept.
Yeah, nobody's getting writer's block anymore. So it's not going to write the book for you or write the poem for you, but it will help you kind of nudge through the issues that you're having and maybe spark some ideas. I think that's terrific. I had a neighbor of mine has a barking dog that barks every single night and it's driving us crazy. We live in a very quiet neighborhood. We moved there because it was so quiet. Except my next door neighbor has like 2 or 3 barking dogs. And it's like, so I wrote them a text last night. Hey, I love dogs too, but when are you going to bring your dogs in? And I was really nice about it. And I'm certain she used ChatGPT to write her response in a text to me, because I'm reading this. I go, this is the most perfect response to what I just wrote. And I looked at my wife. I said, I bet she's using ChatGPT on me right now. I thought that was kind of funny. So, conflict resolution. I think that's great.
Yeah.
I'm not mad at that.
And I think a big concept that I'm seeing, David, you mentioned, is this AI, whether it's ChatGPT, whatever it is, it's a force multiplier. Like you and your daughter is able to put forth, however much effort, and it multiplies that into a whole book. And I think that's like a perfect, very tangible example to be able to see what it can do in business, in medicine, in all these different areas where, now we can still put forth the same amount of effort we were doing, but it's just going to be amplified exponentially, which is exciting. It's amazing.
Absolutely. Yeah. and we're just getting started. So I'm looking forward to what a year from now, what 5 years from now looks like.
Mm-hmm. Totally agree.
I had a question. Hang on.
Yeah. Well, this is a fascinating conversation. I love talking about it. I love doing podcasts because this is what I wanted to do for a living. What you guys are doing right now, I wanted to be you when I grew up. I met my wife on I used to have a podcast. I met my wife on my old podcast. Podcasting and broadcasting have brought me my entire life. So I met Charla on episode 9 of my old podcast, and I interviewed her.
Paid off.
It really, I used to use my podcast as a way of meeting people that I was too, you just can't approach. There are a lot of people that is just unapproachable. You can't just invite a celebrity to lunch. Like, hey, like right. I'm David. Yeah. But if you say, hey, I've got a podcast and I'd like to learn more about you and I've got an audience, say, oh, this is an interesting thing. Yeah. So it is great. It is a great way to meet people and, hone your communication skills.
Yeah, it really is. Spencer, did you have a question?
Yes. So I would be curious to hear about, have you guys seen any healthcare applications in practice yet? Or is that something that's still down the line? You're working with healthcare companies on rolling that out?
Several. Most recently, West Cancer Center in Tennessee, they're using it to beam doctors from the big city in Memphis into the more rural areas of in Paris, Tennessee. So, it is hard to get face-to-face with doctors, right. High quality caliber doctors, especially in some rural locations, not just in the United States, but around the world, in India. And there's a lot of, there's 1.5 billion people living in India with just about a little over 1 million doctors. And those doctors, many of those are living in the larger cities. Right. So, beaming doctors into rural locations, beaming patients in rural locations into the doctor's office, into the hospital for evaluations, right. For diagnosis, and maybe even for, full interactions with and consultations with their doctor. Yeah. So yeah, we're doing that with West Cancer Center right now. It's amazing. Awesome. They are taking our idea, and I believe they'll start to set a trend really soon We'll get calls
Incredible.
from, we're in 50 colleges and universities right now. Many of those are medical schools. University of Central Florida is using it as a way of, lecturing and communication with future healthcare providers by current doctors and PhDs. So yeah, it's,
all over. Yeah.
AARP, that service, they are interested in using Proto as a means of combating loneliness for senior citizens in retirement communities and in senior living facilities. AI gives them the ability, not just beaming their loved ones in and doctors in to their retirement community, but they can also have AI avatars that they can communicate with, because a lot of times grandma doesn't have grandpa there anymore. And so this allows them to at least have somebody there all the time when they want to communicate and talk. And that is one of the biggest problems with that's one of the issues affecting senior citizens is loneliness. And so now this is
for sure
this is helping.
Another thing I'd be curious to see is if it can help. There's a lot of rural towns in America that are collapsing. But to some degree, there's still, going to be jobs there, whether it's for ranching, whatever. I'd be curious to see how this technology could help people, even like telecommute out to nobody wants to work at a gas station in, Podunk, Montana. That's obviously probably way down the line, but it's just fun to imagine future uses of technology like this and future applications.
Exciting. Yeah, putting our holographic displays in banks or in gas stations and letting people beam in from their homes or from some central location somewhere, beaming property managers into high rises or beaming tellers into banks. Again, you're not replacing these people, but you're just giving them more freedom to do other things, and then beam in when required and then beam out and spend time with their children or something like that. So yeah, I think that's actually a really good use case.
I think that wraps up all my questions. Jake, did you have any more?
Yeah, I think mine as well. David, if our listeners want to follow you, want to follow Proto, what are the best platforms? What's the best method for them to do that?
Yeah, at Protohologram on everything. So you can find me there. I run our social media. So if you email or if you if you DM or if you comment on something, chances are I'm going to see it first. So on TikTok, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, at Protohologram on everything, or you could find me. You could look me up as well.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for coming on. We're very excited to see where Proto goes. It's moving fast. It sounds like you guys are a rocket ship. Just going for it right now.
I've been very impressed with what I've seen and what I've heard.
Thank you very much. Yes. Well, hopefully we get to continue this conversation soon. Maybe if not in person, maybe I could beam into your your homes.
That'd be awesome.
Love that. That'd be great. Yeah, we'd love to stay in contact.
Yeah.
All right. We'll do that next. All right. Well, thanks for having me.
Awesome. Thanks, David.